All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It is that time of the week, folks. My weekly picks in the world of the National Football League. And last week was an up and down week for me. A lot of games didn't go as I expected. And of course, the big talk around the NFL was and still is the Aaron Rodgers injury for the New York Jets. Now, with that said, week number two is here and it's upon us. I picked the Philadelphia Eagles to hold serve at home against the Minnesota Vikings, and that is exactly what they did. You're talking about two teams that won their respective divisions last year, two teams that are looking to get back to the postseason and make some damage once again this year. Unfortunately for the Vikings, they now find themselves in an 0-2 hole. The Eagles have their issues, but they're 2-0, and it's easier to fix problems when you're 2-0 as opposed to being winless. Now, with that said, we've got some good games on tap for tomorrow, as well as a double header this Monday night. And with that said, here are my picks for week number two in this NFL season. Now, both the Atlanta Falcons and Green Bay Packers were able to score divisional wins last week to begin their respective seasons. Both of these are young teams, and they're looking to build off of that as each obviously is seeking to get to 2-0. For Green Bay, not only would it be a 2-0 start, but it'd also be 2-0 on the road and in the NFC. And if you're the Packers, you have to feel confident from what you saw last week in Jordan Love's first start. It wasn't just Jordan Love, it was also this Packers defense as they were able to neutralize the Bears offense, if you want to call it that, because the Bears offense, is still a work in progress. One thing's for sure, Atlanta's going to look to establish the running game with the likes of Bijan Robinson as well as quarterback Desmond Ritter in this contest. And Green Bay is definitely defensively is going to have their hands full. For the Packers, can they establish things at the line of scrimmage to begin this contest when they have the ball? That's going to be the important thing. Jordan Love was calm, cool, and collected last week. He's going to face a tougher defense this time around. I think this is going to be a back and forth affair. Atlanta comes into this one favored by 1.5 at home. I think it's going to be tight throughout, but I'm going to go with Green Bay on the road by the score of 24-20. Now, in Western New York, the Buffalo Bills are hopeful that some home cooking will lead to them getting their first win of the season as they're set to host the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, for Buffalo, of course, they were in the middle of all of that hoopla last Monday night at the Meadowlands against the New York Jets. Of course, Aaron Rodgers went down early, and it was, if you want to call it, the play of quarterback Zach Wilson that helped the Jets win, but it was also the Jets' defense slowing down and really putting the stymie on Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Josh Allen definitely has to play better. I've talked about it before where the Bills need to find a way to run the football better, but then also they just can't rely on Josh Allen to be the running back. Defensively, the Bills are getting it going. You've seen what the likes of Leonard Floyd can do in this Bills defense, and they're going to go out there and try to make life tough for Raiders veteran quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. I think being at home and putting the distraction of last week behind them will be on tap for Buffalo in this one. And I'm going to take the Bills at home by the score of 31-24. Now, it's only week two, but this is a pivotal matchup in the AFC North as you're going to have the Cincinnati Bengals set to host the Baltimore Ravens. A very important game for both of these teams. They met three times last year. Of course, the Bengals got the best of the Ravens in the wild card round. Last week, we saw Cincinnati make that trip up north to Cleveland and get taken behind the woodshed, courtesy of the Browns. Now, if you're the Bengals, not only can you not afford to start 0-2, but also you're talking about potentially starting 0-2 within the division. First things first, the Bengals have to do a better job of protecting quarterback Joe Burrow because what we saw from this offense as a whole last week was not good. They've got to get back to basics and try to find a way to protect him, get some of the running game going, get the likes of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins involved. And it won't be easy against this Ravens defense, even though that they're dealing with some injuries themselves. The Ravens offense is a work in progress, but you have to like the fluidity, if you will, that you saw last week in their win versus the Texans. Will Lamar Jackson and bunch be able to do that against the Bengals tomorrow? We've got to wait and see. Cincinnati comes into this contest favored by 3. The over under is 6.5. I think this game in particular is going to be around those numbers. And because of that, I am going to give the Bengals the edge at home by the score of 23-20. Now you're going to have the Seattle Seahawks traveling to the Motor City and Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. And for the Lions, they definitely want to try to keep the momentum going with their upset win last Thursday night on the road against the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. If you're the Lions as well, you want to take advantage of the fact that you had some extra rest coming into this contest. Now, for Seattle, not a lot of people expected them to lose last week at home versus the Los Angeles Rams, and they darn sure did not expect them to lose in the fashion that they did. Seattle's got to play better. They got to have better get off, and they have to establish their running game, uh, which will set up things for quarterback Geno Smith and this offense. Also, there needs to be some physicality from the Seahawks defense, and I think you're going to see more of that when the Seahawks take the field against the Lions tomorrow. Now, for the Lions, Jared Goff continues to be calm, cool, and collected in that pocket for the Lions. And you go back to last year, this was one of the games of the year when the Seahawks played the Lions and the Seahawks beat the Lions early in the season. And who knew at the time that that game was going to determine a playoff spot because both the Seahawks and Lions finished with the same record. Seattle won that game, and subsequently they got into the postseason while Detroit had to watch at home. Now, looking at this contest tomorrow, I still think that it has the makings of being one of the better contests of the week. I really want to see how this Lions team is going to get up for this contest, meaning having the extra time off, having people telling you how good that you are following your defeat of the Kansas City Chiefs. What will we see, excuse me, from the Lions when they take the field tomorrow? I'll tell you one thing, Ford Field will be excited, the fans there, and the Lions have to be able to match that energy. This is going to be a nip and tuck affair, but I'm going to give Detroit the edge at home by the score of 27-24. Now in Nashville, you're going to have the Tennessee Titans hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Both of these teams want to get their first win of the season, and if you're the Chargers, you are desperately need to find a way to win a game, and not only win a game, finish a game. The Chargers had their opportunities last week at home against the Dolphins, couldn't do it. And of course, going back to last season, it was the same old song, the Chargers being unable to finish. Now, last week, the Titans defense kept them in the game on the road versus the New Orleans Saints, but their offense has to get going. Of course, the bread and butter for this Tennessee team is still Derrick Henry. And I think the Titans want to come out and establish their running game because guess what? If you're running the football, obviously you're controlling the line of scrimmage and time of possession. And on top of that, if your offense is on the field, that means Justin Herbert and this Chargers offense isn't. For Justin Herbert and the Chargers, it's not going to be pretty, but I think they got to find a way to dig down deep tomorrow on the road, and I think they get it done. I'm going to take the Lightning Bolts by the score of 20-17. Now in Tampa, you're going to have the surprising 1-0 Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the 0-1 Chicago Bears. And of course, for Tampa Bay right now, it looks like in Baker Mayfield we trust. Why? Because Baker was calm, cool, and collected, as well as this Bucks defense as they went on the road last week and scored the upset win over the Minnesota Vikings. I'll tell you like this is supposed to be a rebuild year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Some people are even throwing around the rumor of tanking. I don't buy any of that. But I'll tell you one thing, you got 53 guys that are going to go out there and give it their all. And speaking of this defense, it's all about speed under head coach Todd Bowles. And that's going to be important because defensively, the Bucks have to go out there and try to neutralize that one-man band. And the one-man band for this Bears offense, unfortunately for their fans and this team, is still quarterback Justin Fields. Justin Fields, like I said before, coming into the season, led this team in rushing last year. You can't do that again, especially when you have a quarterback going for more than 1,000 yards. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be a nip and tuck affair. But I'm going to give the edge to the Bucks defense, and I think that will be the difference. As I'm going to take Tampa Bay at home by the score of 24-17. Now in Jacksonville, you're going to have the 1-0 Jags hosting the 0-1 Kansas City Chiefs. And for Jacksonville, obviously, they're looking to pull off the upset against the defending champs. I'll tell you like this: Kansas City has had the extra rest since last Thursday night. They've had a lot of people beginning to doubt them, even though that, you know what, the NFL season is indeed a marathon, not a sprint. Now, the Chiefs did not have tight end Travis Kelsey in that contest. He's expected to go tomorrow. The Chiefs did not have defensive tackle Chris Jones. He's agreed to a new 1-year deal. He'll be in uniform. He'll be ready to go. And of course, you still got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid doing the thing on offense. Now, for Jacksonville, we saw them last January go to Arrowhead, and they had their chances to win that game in the divisional round against Kansas City. And if you're Jacksonville, you got to say, well, if we had won that game, what could have been for us? But nonetheless, the Jags are favored to win the AFC South. I think the fact that, you know what, it's Jacksonville and everybody else in the AFC South for my money. But these are the type of games that Jacksonville needs to find a way to win if they're going to take that next step, especially come postseason time. Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars quarterback, has all of the intangibles to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Elusiveness, strong arm, and he has the pocket presence. However, at times in his brief career in the NFL, he's taken some chances and taken some risk, which have led to turnovers. Trevor Lawrence needs to play a solid game tomorrow. He cannot go out there and turn the football over. He cannot go out there and give Patrick Mahomes on that other sideline additional opportunities to go out there and score. Defensively for Jacksonville, they've got to dial up the pressure on Patrick Mahomes, get him off schedule, and also throw off the timing between the likes of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. I think this Chiefs defense, which was solid last week against Detroit, will once again be solid against Jacksonville. This is going to be a back and forth affair. I'm going to put this in the category of being one of the better contests for tomorrow. You got Doug Peterson going up against Andy Reid, and I'm going to give Jacksonville the slight edge at home. And I'm going to take the Jags in this one by the score of 24-23. Now, you're going to have the Indianapolis Colts traveling to take on the Houston Texans. And we're going to be hearing about these two quarterbacks going at it for the next couple of years. Anthony Richardson, 4th overall pick to the Colts. CJ Stroud, 2nd overall pick to the Houston Texans. Both of them got their first starts in their young NFL careers last Sunday. Up and down in losses for both of their teams. And one of these quarterbacks is hopeful to leave the field tomorrow with his first win of the season. I'll tell you like this: Houston can run the ball and they can play some defense, and they're going to look to put some pressure on the youngster at quarterback and Anthony Richardson. I think both of these quarterbacks are going to be able to show their potential about what they can do coming down the road. But I'm going to give Houston the edge in this one tomorrow at home by the score of 23-19. Now at SoFi, you're going to have the Los Angeles Rams hosting the San Francisco 49ers. And for San Fran, they're looking to keep it going. I mean, they come into this contest favored by 7. They have had the number over the Los Angeles Rams in recent years, except for the NFC Championship game a couple of weeks ago. And of course, after the 49ers went on the road and ran through the Pittsburgh Steelers literally last Sunday, you got some people out there that already have the Niners pegged to get to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, they have all of the talent to get it done. A solid defense led by Nick Bosa up front. And then you look at their ability to run the football. You look at the talent at the skill positions for quarterback Brock Purdy with the likes of Christian McCaffrey at running back, Debo Samuel at wide receiver, and of course, George Kittle at tight end. Aaron Donald still looks like Aaron Donald for this Rams defense. And offensively for the Rams, it's going to be all about protecting veteran quarterback Matt Stafford. Again, like I said, the Niners have had the Rams number recently under head coach Kyle Shanahan, and I do believe that trend to continue tomorrow as I'm going to take San Francisco on the road by the score of 31-20. to 20. Now, out in the desert, you're going to have the Arizona Cardinals having their season opener against the New York Football Giants. And for the Giants, this is a team that needs to get back on track or get on track because the Giants cannot play worse than what we saw from them on Sunday night at home against the Cowboys. The Giants marched down the field on the opening drive. It looked like they were going to get some momentum for themselves, didn't score a touchdown, settled for a field goal attempt. And before you blinked, that kick was blocked, and Dallas ran it back for a touchdown. And from that standpoint, the floodgates opened up. New York offensively has to establish their running game. And honestly, they have to establish themselves in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Defensively, they need to get after Cardinals quarterback Josh Dobbs. And offensively, they've got to get Saquon Barkley going because it sets everything else up. I know that the Giants have some injuries on their offensive line, but nonetheless, they've got to get that ground attack going. I'll tell you what, the Giants are favored to win this contest, but just look at last week where the Cardinals gave the Washington Commanders all that they could handle and then some on the road. The Giants are definitely going to have to pack a lunch if they want to win this game. I think Brian Daboll has his team ready for this one, and I'm going to take Big Blue on the road by the score of 24-17. Now, down in Arlington, you're going to have the Dallas Cowboys hosting the New York Jets. And after Dallas ran through the Giants last week, some people are already talking about the Cowboys making a deep run into the postseason. Now, this was supposed to be a marquee game, obviously. Obviously, things changed with the injury to Aaron Rodgers on Monday night, as now the Jets have to turn back to Zach Wilson. And because of that, they're coming into this contest as 8.5-point underdogs. I'll tell you like this. We know about the Jets defense, and they're going to have to go out there and put in Herculean efforts like we saw this past Monday night against the Bills, basically every Sunday in order to give this team an opportunity. No disrespect to Zach Wilson. Honestly, we've seen enough tape of him to know what he can and cannot do at this point. I'm not going to write the Jets off in this game just due to the fact that I'm going to say, hey, last week when the Cowboys beat the Giants, Dak Prescott really didn't have to go out there and do that much. Why? Because the defense of the Cowboys and the special teams of the Cowboys set the tone. This Jets defense is a little bit different, and they're going to come out hungry. Robert Saleh is going to have them ready to go. And if the Jets can force an interception or two from Dak Prescott in this game, it could get interesting. Dak Prescott led the NFL in interceptions last year in spite of the fact that he missed 5 games. I am still not sold on him as a quarterback. But on the flip side, you've got this Cowboys defense led by defensive coordinator Dan Quinn going up against Zach Wilson. They want to go out there, slow down this Jets running game, and they're going to sit back and say, hey, Zach Wilson, beat us in the pocket with your arm. You're going to have Micah Parsons on the field coming off that edge for the Cowboys. And again, the Jets already had issues on their offensive line for Aaron Rodgers. Now they still have issues on their offensive line, and they have to go up against arguably the best defense in the NFL tomorrow. The Jets are going to give a strong effort, but it's not going to be enough, as I'm going to take Dallas at home by the score of 23-13. Now, in the Mile High City, you got two teams that are looking to begin this season. Denver's looking to get on track with their first win, while Washington's looking to go 2-0 here. Denver squandered multiple opportunities to win at home last week against the Raiders, and it's the same old song since Russell Wilson became quarterback. This Broncos defense is definitely going to give them an opportunity to win this game against the Commanders tomorrow. But this Denver offense is going to have their hands full with a very stingy and difficult Washington defense. Field position, special teams, and ball security are going to be important in this one. And I think the first team to 20 wins it. It won't be pretty, but I'm going to give Denver the 20-17 win at home tomorrow. Now, on Sunday night, you're going to have an AFC East showdown as the New England Patriots host the Miami Dolphins. And for New England, they're looking to avoid going 0-2 to begin the season, while Miami's looking to go 2-0. 2-0 in the AFC and 2-0 on the road. Now, you saw this Dolphins team in general really step up and make all of the key plays last week in their road win versus the Chargers. Tua Tagovailoa, who has been scrutinized through his young career, stepped up and made those big plays. Now he's got to try to go do it against a Bill Belichick led defense, which always can show you different looks. One big advantage for the Dolphins, they have arguably the best wide receiver duo in the NFL with Tyreek Hill and, of course, Jalen Waddle. And Tyreek Hill is just a freak of nature with his speed. And if he gets a step, he's gone. Even if he doesn't have a step, he's possibly gone as well. For this New England offense, Mac Jones got started off slow last week. He can't afford to have that happen again. But I'll tell you what, he's going to have his hands full with this Dolphins defense. New England is always going to be tough at home under Belichick, but at the end of the day, Miami has too much talent, and I'm going to take the Dolphins to get the 24-20 win tomorrow night. Now, like I said, you got a double header on Monday night. You've got the Saints traveling to Charlotte to take on the Panthers, and the Saints could be, I do believe, they're the best team in the NFC South. You look at this defense, the way they get after people, and for my money, they got the best quarterback in this division in the veteran Derek Carr. Now, Derek Carr is trying to get his timing down with this offense, but in the process, just rely on this running game that you got and rely on your D. For Carolina, it was a debut last week of rookie quarterback Bryce Young. He took his lumps, but you still can see that the future is still bright in Charlotte for this team. Carolina is a work in progress, while New Orleans, in my opinion, is the team to beat in this division. That will be the difference on Monday night. And because of that, I'm going to take the Saints by the score of 27-17. And finally, in the Steel City, you've got an AFC North matchup and a critical AFC North matchup for both of these teams as the Steelers are set to host the Browns. We saw the Steelers get run off the field at home last week, courtesy of the Niners. They definitely do not want to begin this season 0-2. On the flip side, Cleveland beat Cincinnati at home last week. And if you're Cleveland, you have an opportunity here to not only start 2-0, but also 2-0 within your division. I said this could be the most contentious division in the NFL this season. And I do believe that still to be the case, which means these divisional matchups are going to be so pivotal. Pittsburgh's defense got punched in the mouth last week by San Francisco. That needs to change, but they're going to have to do it without their anchor in Cam Haywood. How will they get after Deshaun Watson? You still got TJ Watt and company out there. Of course, for Cleveland, get that running game going with Nick Chubb and take some of that pressure off of Watson. But I think this Pittsburgh defense is going to be primed and poised to give a much more spirited effort than we saw last Sunday against the 49ers. The Steelers offense needs to get it going as well. Kenny Pickett's in his second year. He was expected, and he still is expected to make some strides, but that was not the case last week against the 49ers. I think Pittsburgh needs to get back to their ground attack with the likes of Najee Harris to take the pressure off. Conventional wisdom says take the Browns. They're the 2.5-point favorites in this one, but I just don't see the Steelers starting off 0-2, and I just don't see them losing their first two contests at home. And because of that, I'm going to take Pittsburgh by the score of 23-20. So, folks, those are my picks for week number 2 in this NFL season. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.